This year we celebrate my parents' 50 years of involvement with congregation Ahavasachem B'nai Jacob and David, affectionately known as the Alphabet Shul, AABJ&D. It's my parents' Jubilee year. My father has served AABJ&D for 30 years as its senior rabbi and 20 years as Rabbi Emeritus. My dad was just 19 years old when he graduated Yeshiva College in 1948. 4 years later, he received smicha, his rabbinic ordination, from Yeshiva University's Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary, known as RIETS. At the same time, he also received a Master's of Science degree in Community Organization from Yeshiva. Before coming to West Orange, my dad was the rabbi of the Jewish Community Center in Paramus, New Jersey, and before that, at Ahavasachem Lubavitch in Buffalo, New York. My brothers Shai and Jay remember that time in Buffalo. It was a difficult period, with Holocaust survivors resettling in America. We remember one such family, the Blitzers. The parents were Holocaust survivors from Auschwitz. David was a gabbai, and his son Wolf later became an American journalist and CNN television news anchor. Wolf was one of my dad's early bar mitzvah boys.
Hello, I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington, and I just want to say a few words about a man who played a very memorable role in my life. Rabbi Alvin Marcus helped train me for my bar mitzvah many, many years ago in Buffalo, New York. I will forever be grateful for his teachings. But there's something even more important. He played a wonderful, unique role in the life of my entire family in Buffalo. My older sister, Helena, my parents, David and Sesha Blitzer, they always spoke so highly of him, and they were always so grateful for his leadership, his teaching, his friendship that he provided to all of our family. So on behalf of all of us, congratulations on reaching this milestone.
So I was 12 years old when I moved into West Orange, and I remember it vividly because it was the night that Elvis Presley had his comeback tour on NBC, and it was a big deal. People that came from Newark, old timers that had come from Newark, people that had been living here, that broke away from the Jewish Center. People weren't necessarily Shomer Shabbat, but they wanted to have a Jewish community, they wanted to have a yeshiva, they wanted to have day schools.
The roots of AABJ&D can be traced to Newark. And so I remember Rabbi Herschel Cohen, Zechrono Livracha, who officiated at Ahavasachem B'nai Jacob in Newark on Avon Avenue, first as the Chazan and then the rabbi. He later became Rabbi Emeritus when Ahavasachem B'nai Jacob merged with B'nai David in 1968. B'nai David was named after Bernard and Leet Kahn's father. I also remember Reb Moshe Zaydel, Zechrono Livracha. Moshe was the shamus at Ahavasachem B'nai Jacob in Newark.
So one of the things that Leet Kahn told me about my dad when he came here was that my dad had this vision, the shul should be open to everybody. Doesn't matter where you are in terms of your Yiddishkeit.
My mother recalls how a small but dedicated group of people created an accepting Orthodox environment where everyone was welcome. She remembers my father's mantra: no matter what people's level of Torah observance, people always came first. My father believes that the Orthodox Jewish experience should be open to everyone. My dad learned this lesson from his own father, Saul Marcus, who unfortunately passed away when my dad was in his teens. My dad's outlook worked. Within a short time, AABJ&D began to attract a large influx of new members who were both educated in yeshivas, Hebrew day schools, public schools. Everyone was welcome. These new families helped grow the shul into a community that was built on strong religious Jewish values. Joel Daner, Zechrono Livracha, said it best. Joel was a well-known Jewish communal leader who also served as one of the shul's building dedication chairpersons. In 1974, he said, "The growth of our shul community exceeded Rabbi Marcus's wildest dreams." The shul's first building expansion was voted on in the early 1970s. The community grew, and so did its needs. A mikveh was proposed, but West Orange had never seen a mikveh before. People didn't know what it was. Through patience, understanding, and education, and through the legal efforts of attorneys Larry Levitt and Bruce Schulson, who represented the Essex County mikveh, a mikveh was constructed in 1976. Dad was also responsible for building and maintaining the Eruv, and you could see him every Friday afternoon driving around, no matter what the weather conditions were. Whether it was raining or snowing or an intense heat, he was always there, making sure the Eruv was ready to go. Enrollment in the shul's nursery school program increased exponentially as more parents became interested in giving their children a strong Jewish foundation. My father was always involved. He lent his guidance to the nursery school program since his office was just a couple of feet away. You could always see him in the nursery school daily. He loved those kids, and thousands of children remember getting their nursery school diploma from Dad. He thought that would create a special relationship with those children that would stay with them forever. And speaking about the shul office, there were people like Arlene Gerson, who worked closely with my dad as the office manager, and Shirley Pucciarello, who was the bookkeeper. They both retired in 1998 after many years of service to the shul.
I've heard of the West Orange Orthodox community from friends of mine, and I heard Rabbi Marcus was very welcoming and very warm.
When we first moved here, we got invited for one of our first Shabbosim to spend with the Marcuses. And she was just so warm and just so inviting, and I just felt like I had parents away from home. Our daughter was very ill, and we turned to Rabbi Marcus, our spiritual leader, to help us. And Rabbi Marcus came to the hospital no matter what time of day, no matter what time of night. And in fact, when Lauren unexpectedly passed away in February of '87, Rabbi Marcus officiated at the funeral, and it wasn't until Shiva that we had found out that Rabbi and Mrs. Marcus were actually going to Israel the day of the funeral. Rabbi Marcus turned to us and gave us the idea of naming the nursery after our departed daughter, Lauren Elise. And our 4 children, Amanda, Jordana, Danielle, and Raphael, went through this nursery program, as well as our youngest granddaughter, Miri. We love the Marcuses, and we wish them both, and Mea Vesum Shana, that the two of them together will just continue to be the spark that they are, still remain to be in this community.
I remember our synagogue youth programs, specifically our NCSY chapter. As younger families moved into the community, our youth programs really took off.
Time Rabbi Marcus approached me and he said, I saw some kids playing ball in Degnan Park. I want them in the shul. He says, we want the shul to be the center of their lives. And I think we see that in the many different type of minyanim that are in the building. He didn't care necessarily. He just wanted everyone together.
Dad played a pivotal role in helping to establish the Sephardic Minyan in West Orange. He believed and wanted to strengthen and ensure future generations' awareness of their Sephardic customs and traditions. Dad was instrumental in getting this group of Sephardim to come to shul and daven in a minyan. And today we see the results. The Sephardim daven in their own beautifully decorated Sephardic wing.
When we came here in 1981, Rabbi Marcus was one of the first people to approach me, asked me about my background, and asked me if I had any issues with my children maintaining their Sephardic heritage. I said yes, very much so. And he was extremely supportive of the idea of launching and starting a Sephardic minyan. So my children, in a nutshell, didn't lose their Sephardic heritage, and I owe a lot of this to Rabbi Marcus, to his credit.
Dad also helped to perpetuate Torah learning by offering a number of shiurim for shul membership. My dad worked alongside shul presidents, board members, committed lay leaders who dedicated many hours to the shul. It was not uncommon to find my dad in the shul late at night when most people would be getting ready for sleep. As AABJ&D achieved more recognition as the largest modern Orthodox shul in Metro West, my dad assumed a number of leadership roles within the greater Orthodox community. In June of 1983, he received an honorary Doctor of Divinity degree from Yeshiva University at their 52nd annual commencement. Dad was active in the Rabbinical Council of America, and he was president of the Council of Orthodox Rabbis of Metropolitan New Jersey. He was co-chairman of the Rabbinic Division of the United Jewish Appeal of the Jewish Community Federation of Metro West. and he also served as co-president of Yeshiva University's Rabbinic Alumni Organization. And that's a lot of rabbis. Dad believes the shul should be an active member of the community, so he served as a member of the board of directors of the Daughters of Israel Geriatric Center, and he sat on the executive board of the Joseph Kushner Hebrew Academy, and he's also maintained a great relationship with local town officials, including the mayor of West Orange. You know, our community has always been strongly Zionistic. A large percentage of our youth spend a year of study abroad in Israel after high school graduation, and a number of our youth have served in the Israeli army. But what's really impressive is how over the years, dozens and dozens of families from West Orange have made Aliyah. That's a pretty incredible story.
Okay, fine.
My father has relied on my mother's expertise as a travel agent when it comes to traveling to Israel. And whenever they travel there, they always make sure to connect with the shul's youth that are studying in Israel. Now, before they would go, my dad would always say, and always says, we gotta make arrangements to see the kids. We gotta have them for dinner. And I would always say, what kids are you talking about? And he would say, our kids, the kids from the shul. When there were periods when people were afraid to travel to Israel because of terrorism, Mom and Dad would put together groups from the shul to travel to Israel to show their support and solidarity with the Jewish state. In 1996, the Rabbi Alvin Marcus Rabbinic Institute at Yeshivat Shalavim was endowed by Ira and Doris Kukin, longtime friends of my parents and our family, and champions and builders of the West Orange community. In the late 1980s, the shul was bursting at the seams, and I remember the board decided to hire its first assistant rabbi to help my dad with his rabbinic duties, due to the increasing needs created by such a large membership. Many of these assistant rabbis have gone on to great success and play important roles in communities around the country and around the world.
I remember once sitting in his office when Rabbi Marcus received a phone call from one of his former mentees. The mentee is very excited to tell him about all the exciting programming he's doing in his shul. And at one point, Rabbi Marcus, in his very gentle manner, interrupts him and says, yeah, but I have a question for you. What about Mrs. Schwartz? You know, that elderly woman down the road. I think she has a cold today. Have you called her? So we laughed. It was cute, right? The message was pretty obvious.
One of these great success stories is our beloved Rabbi Zwickler. My brothers and I agree that in many ways, Rabbi Zwickler is the son who is a rabbi that my dad never had.
When I took on the role of the senior rabbi of the shul, Rabbi Marcus was invaluable. There were times when I had asked Rabbi Marcus for advice, and the advice was not only sage advice, but it was practical, it was real, and it was really the advice of someone who cared and loved not only of the community, but cared and loved for me and my family. So we wish Rabbi and Marylin a tremendous amount of strength, and that Kadosh Baruch Hu should bless you for many, many more years in good health, to be able to continue to share with us your wisdom and your guidance in our community at Me'av Esrim Shem.
When our shul underwent a major building expansion in the early 1990s, an entire wing of the synagogue was named in honor of my dad by his good friends Ira and Doris Kukin. We miss them dearly. They were the best. Over his years of service in the shul, my dad always stressed the importance of giving back to the community.
That those who cause others to do the mitzvah of tzedakah, of charity, are greater than even those who do the mitzvah themselves. Do you know why? That the one who gives only his money. The one who causes another to give, gives of his time, and time is life.
In 1998, my dad officially became a rabbi emeritus. By that time, he had dedicated 30 years of his life to our shul and its membership. Unfortunately, a stroke around the same time limited his activity, but not his passion.
During my husband's rabbinate, the thing that he always stressed was a sense of community. He always said, we're individuals, but together we make a community. And if we don't make a community together, we're no one. And at no time was this brought more to me than the night my husband had his stroke. Thursday afternoon, I came home to find him on the floor, unable to walk or move. We got him to the hospital, and after we quieted things down, I said to my son, Shai, take me home. I know I'm going to be here for a few days. I have to get some things. And as we were driving on Pleasant Valley Way, I noticed hundreds of cars in front of the shul. I said, what are all these cars here for? And Shai said, they're saying Tillim for Daddy. And I was so struck. I said, saying Tillim for Daddy? That's our community. The next day, my usual hospital routine was go and sit with him. I closed my eyes and I said, dear God, just let him live. I don't care what shape he's in. I don't care how he is. I just want him. Please, just let him live. Well, thank God, he answered my prayer. Or as my granddaughter says, would you say no to Grandma? And I would like to thank those who've helped. Number one, Hashem. I thank God every day for the gift that I have, for the gift that my children have, for the gift that the community has. Secondly, I want to thank our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. Their love, their respect is beyond belief. And I have to say, Josh, who lives in West Orange, has been the most incredible human being. The next group are the group of doctors and dentists that have taken such wonderful care of him. A truly wonderful, unbelievable community. And I have to give special thanks to Rabbi Switler.
I don't think that there is a single material reward that anybody could conceive of that you could present to my grandparents that would be more meaningful to them than looking back after 50 years, looking back at this community and seeing Vayirev Ha'am, how the community has multiplied, Vayatzmu Ma'od, and how strong it has become. Their sense of community is really their sense of family. You really belong to them, and they feel very, very honored to have been part of all of your lives.
Today, my parents have had more time to spend with my brothers Shai and Jay and their families, and of course, with their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I think about 50 years. 50 years in West Orange. 50 years at AABJ&D. And I think about something my dad once told me about Rav Kook. One day we were talking about Rav Kook, and Dad mentioned that Rav Kook accepted all kinds of Jews. You see, he said that Rav Kook knew that the rebuilding of Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, was going to require all kinds of Jews from every walk of life to contribute to the rebuilding. And he said that he embraced each one of these people with great love and affection. And I think that's my dad's philosophy. Actually, it is his philosophy. Embracing the lives and souls of everyone he meets, always to create a positive Jewish experience with a love that knows no bounds.
We would have dinner, and my father was a no-show. He wasn't around. And my mother would say, go across the street, go to the shul, see where your father is. And I'd go into the shul, and he'd be like cleaning the chalkboards, or he'd be like mopping the floor. There wasn't anything that he wouldn't do for the shul, and she was really supportive of him in doing that. So, when you look at the community, it really was a group effort by my parents.